good, or does it need to be brighter?
May have to pull the sign so they can pull off the back. Just come forward.
Just pull all the way through.
And then back up.
Okay, tell me when I'm clear. I want to try something.
Clearing up the pronunciation.
Okay. Okay, do you want to clear me?
How did you get it from Brad?
good aunt ended up on this thing.
So I'm going to ask parents, welcome everybody. Please remain in your vehicles for the time being. Please make sure everyone remains in their vehicle. Graduates, you may come and sit in the chair in front of the vehicle.
Bends a little bit.
What about clouds? Once they get everyone in, I'm just gonna pan around to all the chairs. Hey, out of curiosity, do I look level? Do I look level?
Like that's what mid-pack for
I'm like,
All right, if I could ask parents to please make sure you're in your vehicles. The only people outside the vehicles right now should be the students in their seats. Hey, that last car is, well, the last car is just parking. Are the bagpipers just starting to come? Do they just go?
Am I still on?
See a name on the back. Yeah. It's a girl. I remember it's a girl.
That's very clever.
It's so creative.
Yeah.
Oh, look at the lone balloon. All right, parents, you don't realize this yet, but in lieu of applause, you are allowed to honk horns at this commencement. There you go. Welcome to the 2020 commencement for the class of 2020. I'd like to give a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. One, there is a restroom to use over here by the Mead Dining Center. You will be directed in to use it. We're going to go one at a time if you need to use it during the ceremony. Secondly, families, please stay in your cars, but when your senior, their name is called for the diploma, you can get out of your cars and come up and get a quick picture as they go up and back, give them a hug, and then back in the car. So without further ado, let's get started with this most unique of commencements. I'd like to introduce Ted Levine to give the invocation.
Hello. You know, it's hard to have a script for today. But it's nice to see my 64 poli-sci people that are just not on a screen. So it's great to see you all again. It really is. So good morning and welcome to you all. These last 3 months have zoomed by in many ways than one. To the class of 2020, the history-making class, for all of you, these past few months were times of resilience and deep empathy. And while your commencement in some ways is certainly different, the essentials of community are really the same. Everybody kept this community together through classes and cooking together and singing together and meditating and trivia nights and exercise challenges and billboard celebrations and car parades and brilliant music and epic and the KO News. All significant moments reaffirming community, a community of caring beyond self, online version. I've been here a long time, and while there are always celebrations and sorrows forming our times together, nothing was like what I've seen these past 3 months. Your online class night reminded us all of the memories and imaginations defining this community. Your speeches chronicled the journey. For some of you, a journey beginning when you were 11 years old. Your music dazzled. Your artwork allowed us to see glimpses of who we would never see just walking past each other in the hallways, 6 feet apart, of course. And Murphy's video mosaic expressed so many meanings emerging from your variety of experiences. So to the Wyvern class of 2020, the history-making class, go do good things in these interesting and challenging times, times when we all confront who we really are. Bring caring and generosity to your worlds. Be someone who bravely confronts these challenges and then acts. And stay connected to us. You have a community here that cares about you deeply. Teachers who have listened to your ideas and nurtured your unique voices. Teachers who have read every word you have written. Teachers who have grown with you. You know what? You may never have this again, not in college and not in life. So to all of you, a deep thank you. At times you surprised us. You certainly impressed us, and we wish you all the best and a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you.
And now to introduce our faculty speaker, Remy McCoy.
Hello, class of 2020, families, faculty, and staff. It's so nice to look out and see all of your faces and your cars. Today, I'm here to introduce someone who has made a huge impact on me during my time at KO. Not only has he helped me overcome challenges academically, but he has been a trusted teacher, advisor, and friend. Mr. Hild wears many hats on campus. Not only is he an alum of KO, but he is a beloved football and lacrosse coach, passionate English teacher, advisor, and form dean. While extremely busy with each of these roles, Mr. Hild always makes the time to check in with each of his students and advisees. That blue couch in his office has overheard many rant sessions, complaints, and victories. His support and wisdom has guided myself and many others throughout the integral upper class years. Whether it be stealing his granola bars in between classes, bonding with him on the lacrosse field, having waffle-making parties, or hearing the famous canoe story, every student has a fond memory with Mr. Hild. His fun-loving nature and passion for life is contagious, and he is truly such a role model to my classmates and I. Even during the outbreak of this pandemic, Mr. Hild has kept a positive attitude, giving our class every possible chance to connect in person. He has gone above and beyond for this school, and I'm confident he will do the same in years to come. That's just who Mr. Hild is. As my fellow classmate Shane Dawson said, he's like a dad to so many of us, and I know I can trust him with anything. Mr. Hild, thank you for having our backs. Thank you for helping us climb mountains steeper than we ever imagined and overcome challenges that seemed so unfeasible. I will truly miss walking into Advisee every day and being greeted with a friendly, "What up, Rem Dog?" Thank you for changing the lives of many of my classmates and I in so many ways. We cannot thank you enough for all you have done. Since I'm technically an alum, I think it's safe to say we are on a first-name basis now. So please join me in welcoming Mr. David Hild to the stage.
Got to get situated for 1 second. Thank you, Remy, for that generous introduction. I've so missed our frequent Advisee group chats, and I'm sad that the time was gone before we knew it was gone. And now you're all heading off to college. And thank you to the class of 2020 for giving me this opportunity to speak to you. I'm sorry I won't be able to extend my hand to anyone in the faculty receiving line, but it is truly an honor, and I'm grateful for it. And truth be told, I'm not unhappy that we're here on the practice football field. I recently spoke to you about sacred time and sacred space, and this field is certainly special to me. Today is not only your graduation, it's the 40th anniversary of my graduation from KO. Over my time here as a football player and coach, I've spent thousands of hours at practice on this often muddy field. Many of my most meaningful KO relationships and experiences germinated here. My students know that a painting of this very space, given to me years ago by Mrs. Rossoff, adorns the wall of my classroom. So I'm reminded of a Bart Giamatti quote which speaks to me of this spot. There are those of us who were born with the wisdom to know that nothing lasts. But I'm not that grown up. I'm a simpler creature, tied to more primitive patterns and cycles. I need to think something lasts forever. And it might as well be that state of being that is this green field shining in the sun today. I'm not sure that all of you in cars would agree with that sentiment right now, but I do know that as KO graduates, we share a great deal in common. You are much more accomplished students and more confidently adept in the ways of the world than I was back in June of 1980. But I've often thought, what do I know now that I wish that I knew back then? At my graduation, Connecticut Lieutenant Governor Eunice Grorick gave a talk about Alpha and Omega, beginnings and endings. I'm sure it was a fine speech, but its title is all I remember of it. I hope maybe I can say a few things this afternoon that will leave you thinking and questioning more than I did back in those halcyon days. Many of you decided to come to KO because it's an institution that prides itself on small-scale, person-to-person conversations. Yet you, the class of 2020, are ending your careers here dutifully listening to a bunch of men standing on a stage and not really having a discussion with any of you. It's not that I'm opposed to this ceremony or tradition, and it's not even that I'm opposed to speeches to large audiences. The problem is what's always really excited me about teaching is the relationships we develop in that one-on-one partnership. The chance to actually get to know you and to talk with you. The reason those conversations are particularly interesting is because within that intimacy, we have the opportunity to learn from each other and to engage in the transformative power of our differences. In the graduation details and timeline doc shared with seniors this Thursday, this was called a Harkness graduation, but it's not. You're in a squared circle, but silent, not carrying the discussion. The teachers are inside the ring, and the only people that are speaking So it's actually kind of a perverse reverse Harkness. This kind of format is not one where we're going to get much in terms of the way of dialogue. So let me say right now, today I don't really care what you think about what I say. I'm more interested in what you do with it. On class night, I discussed coping with uncertainty, focusing on journey over destination, and gratification. Today, I may tangentially touch on those themes, but I want to focus more on a question. What does it mean to lead a life of integrity and involvement? That's the mission of KO, right? They're lofty pursuits. The meaning of integrity seems clear. Being honest and having strong moral principles. Being whole and undivided. But with regard to involvement, well, community involvement is a whole different animal than self-involvement. So how might you lead a life of integrity and involvement? Remember, the word question is at its heart about a quest. And another question. Does leading a life of integrity and involvement create a purposeful life? My other alma mater, Bates College, defines purposeful work as discovering the joy and power that arises from aligning who you are with what you do. Identifying and cultivating interests, strengths, knowledge, experiences, and relationships to pursue aspirations with imagination and integrity. I like that a lot. Integrity and involvement are inextricably intertwined with purpose, a yin-yang relationship. I've taught a senior English class, The American Dream, for over a decade. Each September, in exploring that ideal, students share a list of their dreams and goals with me. I'm oldish now, so my dreams involve relationships and experiences for the most part. Knowing that I'm always, first and foremost, my wife's husband, my son's father, my parents' son, my peer's friend, those are the most important and enriching roles in my life. But I'm also a teacher, coach, advisor, maybe even a mentor to young people. And that makes my everyday joyful and rewarding. But my students are generations younger than me. What are their dreams? Here's a sampling from years past. Some are realistic. I want to play college volleyball, become a realtor, have a loving family, get into business school, become a human rights lawyer. Some are fantastic. I'm going to marry a supermodel, retire at 25, be richer than Jeff Bezos. I'm never going to age. And I'm going to get a statue of me outside an NFL stadium. And finally, some are altruistic. I'm going to donate time and money to help people in need. I want to be a role model for my family. I want to help others and be happy. I want to provide for my mom. What does the American dream mean to you? There's no real correct answer. Different lenses and different realities produce different dreams. But we must acknowledge that this wholly American concept is experientially not the same for every American. We must all work towards reparations for our country's original and ongoing sin of racism. Shame and peer pressure are poor motivators to encourage change. As Shakespeare and Mrs. Casbrack will tell you, a mind convinced against its will is of the same opinion still. Empathy is a better change agent. To that end, I know I can listen more and talk less, that I can be a stronger ally, that I can be actively anti-racist, and that I can battle systemic racism. With this senior class, I've been blessed to have many opportunities in classrooms, on playing fields, and on community service trips with students of color. In the spring of 2019, I went to Tobati with my Equipo Fuego group. Jocelyn Ram, Trinity Hudson, Sydney Taff, Isha Sohal, Jaden Lovelace, Jordan Walker, Josie Pinero, and Sydney Jett. Even with days and days of torrential rain, we had a blast together. And I'm not trying to perpetuate a gender stereotype, but our girls were really talented dancers. Jaden, me, and Don, not so much. So our female choreographers hit us, the two left feet guys, and Christian, deep in the third row behind them and our Maki school buddies. And thus we were crowned champions in the Night of Stars dance competition. Trinity, our spirited leader, and the rest of my Fuego teammates, I love you all. And I understand that I can never truly understand or live your experience, but I will always stand with you. You are beautiful and strong, and you have taught me much more than you've learned from me. Let me segue back to the question of how integrity and involvement go hand in hand with a purposeful life. What are the characteristics of people who are both profoundly happy with the lives they live and lifters of others? Several years ago, columnist David Brooks mused about these traits. I've incorporated some of the attributes he posited and some of my own in creating a top 10 profile of people who lead purposeful lives of integrity and involvement. I like you to consider them. 1, these people don't overthink their decision to choose to live this way. They didn't weigh the costs and benefits or give in to fear. 2, they had a mentor, someone who planted an ideal in their mind's eye. Somebody set a high example for them of what a good life looks like. 3, they have a "this is what I do" mentality. They do what they do because it's what they love. One of my favorite bar school philosophers, Norm Peterson, once told his friend Sam, "It doesn't matter what you love, as long as you love it totally, completely, and without judgment." 4, they ignore material rewards. Their identity is not based on a title or a paycheck. We see them serving others and it looks like self-sacrifice, but it doesn't feel that way to them. They're just being true to themselves. 5, they constantly expand their goals. They are to moral life what lifelong learners are to intellectual life. 6, they have friends, lots of them. There's usually a team of peers around them sharing core tasks and carrying them when they can't carry themselves. 7, they expand their ambitions in the face of hardship. They're willing to be uncomfortable physically and emotionally. Think about what we've been through this spring, what we're going through right now. This is a really hard time in this country. So perhaps we should heed the advice of writer James Baldwin. Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. 8, they are relentlessly positive, possessing a crazy level of optimism. They learn from and are undaunted by setbacks. 9, the direction of their lives moves from fragmentation to integration. Their efforts are generally built around reconciling differences, bringing the unlike together, moving to wholeness. They are community builders. And lastly, they are profoundly happy. They are never at work. Life is wing day with a banana split on the side. And they don't take themselves too seriously, for they laugh long and heartily, even at themselves. Perhaps some of these attributes are already a part of your life. Perhaps they will be. But think about them and question them. Of course, these are my questions and my answers. Your integrity, your involvement, your purposes are still unfolding. But I hope you pursue them, because your questions and your answers will shape your future. To the class of 2020, perhaps it's because of what unfolded over the last few months, but I feel closer to you than any other senior class in my 36 years of teaching. You are wonderful, and I love you. Let's celebrate what you have done in your time here and what you will do in the years to come. Thank you. If Mr. Dillo could come to the stage right now, he's going to give a charge to the class of 2020.
So, Remy, technically you're not a graduate yet because you haven't received your diploma. So I found it a little bit disrespectful when you called Mr. Hill David. So we're going to have a chat after this, okay? Can you please give another round of applause and honks for Mr. Hill's wonderful talk? Before I give my charge to the class of 2020, there are a few people that we all need to thank. First, this has been the most unique and challenging commencement ceremonies to plan in the history of all commencement ceremonies. I haven't actually researched that, but I feel fairly confident in making that case. It's not every day that we prepare for graduation in the midst of a global pandemic. Our buildings and grounds crew, led by Justin, Wolfrat, Dean, Roy, Greg, and Kyle, have been working nonstop overtime to mow lawns, hang banners, set up the stage, among many, many other things. So can we all please give them a big round of applause? Elizabeth Bellengrath was of enormous help throughout the planning, as were David Hill, Dan Gleason, Will Gilliard, and Carolyn McKee. So please give them a round of applause too. And finally, this program would not have happened without our field marshal. So I'd like everyone to give a big round of applause to Sherry Malinowski. And Sherry, please come up to the stage. So there's another group of people who need to be thanked. And while they weren't exactly involved in the setup, they were very much involved in making sure that you're here today, about to graduate from this 111-year-old school. Students, please rise and face your parents. They have been your biggest supporters and have made more sacrifices than they can count in time, money, and energy to ensure that you have become the thoughtful and well-adjusted young adults that you are. Please blow them a kiss, a social distance high five, or whatever way you can let them know how much you love them and that you're thankful for all they've done. All right, you can turn around and sit down. And lastly, another group of people need to be thanked who were more immediately responsible for you being here, your teachers. Though they cannot be with us in person, they are here in spirit and they're watching on the live stream. They will be in the faculty parking lot to send you off with a 2020 version of the faculty receiving line. Please join me in thanking this incredibly talented and committed faculty. So to the class of 2020, I recognize that I stand between you and your diplomas, so I promise not to be too long. As we gather for the 108th commencement of our school on our beautiful campus in West Hartford, we do so within the context of a world that has been transformed almost overnight by a global pandemic and a country whose streets are spilling forth from the frustration of 250 years of injustice. Whether we like it or not, this is the world that confronts us, and it is the world that you enter into more fully upon leaving Kingswood, Oxford. Yesterday morning, I was so hoping that it would rain between 2 and 4 p.m. Not so much that it would drench this field, obviously, but I wished for ominous clouds, thunderous claps, and brilliant flashes of lightning. Anything to validate what was a very difficult decision to move our commencement to today. The day before that, I was wrestling with uncertainty and wishing that I could predict the weather. Of course, the weather is unpredictable, but I wanted as much certainty as I could get. And I'm not alone. Have you ever stopped to consider why we spend so much time obsessing about the weather? It is now a $7 billion television industry and consumes a good portion of every local news broadcast. There is a dedicated national TV network to just the Weather Channel. It's ranked number 7 overall, just below Netflix, but above stalwarts like ABC, NBC, CBS, and HBO. Why? We work very hard to make our lives as certain as possible, as unpredictable as we can. It's not just a preference. Our brains are wired to seek certainty, scanning our external environments to avoid threats. In caveman times, this meant looking out for wild animals, that might gobble us up. Today, it means watching the Weather Channel for reassurance and predictability. Parents, too, are biologically programmed to protect and provide for their young. So we go to great lengths to remove any obstacles that may be in your path. We want to create as much certainty about your future as we can. We buy cars that have high safety ratings and put safety nets on the trampolines. At school, you run through a pretty regimented schedule too, taking English in A block, math in B, with mock trial on Wednesdays, SAT tutoring on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and 3 practices of soccer per week. Whatever variation of a schedule like that you might have, it is nonetheless a schedule, and your adherence to it provides a degree of certainty and expectation about the future. So now, you enter a world with more uncertainty than ever before, and you will need to be comfortable with things being different than you had originally anticipated. The plan has changed. The schedule has changed. Your success in dealing with that very much hinges on your acceptance of the fact that nothing is really certain in life, except, of course, death and taxes. We cannot predict the future. So while planning is important and schedules are useful, do not forget to pause and enjoy today. Others may worry about what has been lost or if classes will start at your college in the fall. I encourage you to focus on the many blessings that you have today. Not to worry about tomorrow, because tomorrow will worry about itself. Rely on your adventurous spirit. Go for that destination-less jog that Mr. Hild suggested at class night, and live a little bit more in the moment. If you haven't seen Good Will Hunting, go see it and say carpe diem, seize the day. After that, watch Ferris Bueller's Day Off and heed the advice that life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around every once in a while, you could miss it. Though I completely disagree with his decision to skip school that day. In uncertain times, you can also lean on your friends or loved ones. Remember, you are not alone. And there is a certain comfort in knowing that everyone is in this together. As Samantha Young writes in her book on Dublin Street, which I have not read, but I did discover as I searched for a good quote about uncertainty on Google the other day, only then to discover that the book is of the adult romance genre and is apparently pretty steamy. Still, it works, so I'm using it. Sometimes the clouds weren't weightless. Sometimes their bellies got dark and full. It was life. It happened. It didn't mean it wasn't scary or that I wasn't still afraid, but now I knew that as long as I was standing under it with Braden beside me, when those clouds broke, I'd be all right. We'd get rained on together. Knowing Braden, he'd have a big-ass umbrella to shelter us from the worst of it. That there was an uncertain future I could handle. Sometimes it helps just going into the unknown with someone beside you like Braden. So don't forget that you are not alone and that you have each other. Class of 2020, I know you will handle anything that the world throws at you with the same kind of strength, courage, and resilience that you've displayed this spring. Secondly, I encourage you not to let this powerful movement for justice, now in its 12th day, to go by without understanding what it is about and without it impacting your conscience. You may not realize this yet, but this is pretty unique. We may be witnessing what future historians could call the second civil rights movement, or perhaps it will earn its own nomenclature. While the first one responded to overt kinds of racism, like segregation and voting, today's movement digs deeper at underlying and implicit forms of bias that continue to perpetuate inequality in our society. You should care about this. I know you have witnessed it yourself, whether at school or online, and I urge you not to be indifferent to it. Read and study. Gain a fuller understanding of why these inequities exist. consider what you could do to make a difference. It may be that you decide that you'll no longer stand silent when you hear or witness hateful language. It may be that you feel that fire in your belly and you want to march with others, with a mask on, of course, to try to demand change. Most of the great movements for change in the modern era have been led not by old fogies like me, but by students who were your age. It was young people that were at the heart of the anti-Vietnam and the civil rights movement of the 1960s. Teenagers helped end apartheid in South Africa and bring down the Berlin Wall in 1989. And it is heartening to see thousands and thousands of young people leading peaceful protests in streets across America, like the one later today across the street from our school, using their voices and their constitutional rights to pressure those in power to bring about meaningful change. I am not saying that you all need to become activists and show up at every protest, but I am suggesting that we should also not be silent bystanders to history or stand idle in the march towards becoming a more just and equitable society. This was the incomplete work of our founding fathers, and while we took a step forward during the civil rights movement of the 1950s and 60s, there is still work to be done in building Martin Luther King Jr.'s beloved community, a society that is truly based on justice, equal opportunity, and love. Figure out how you can play your part, but start by caring. So class of 2020, you are a special class, and you will always be remembered here at Kingswood, Oxford, in part because you graduated in an extraordinary time, at the confluence of a global pandemic and a national uproar over continuing injustice. In 20 years, you may be telling a friend, yeah, I graduated during the pandemic of 2020, or perhaps my commencement time was changed because it coincided with one of the civil rights protests of 2020. However, it's important to note that your class is not defined by events that are happening outside. You are special to us because of the positive impact you have made on the Kingswood Oxford community. Your kindness, your resilience, and the positive model that you have set for those that are coming after you. You have challenged us at times, wowed us with your many talents, and kept us laughing all along. You are why we enjoy teaching and working at schools. We will miss you dearly, but are excited for you as you head off towards this next adventure. So, with all that said, let's get down to business and get you your diplomas.
Class of 2020, are you ready? You ready for those diplomas? All right. A quick note about how to get your diploma. Even though we're surrounded on four sides, when you come up, we want you to come onto stage on this side, walk up these stairs, go across the stage this way, heading south, and come out this way. Come out on the south side on this side, okay? So you're gonna walk around, come across, and down. And that's how we're gonna do it. Okay? And we're moving the podium and feeling good. Mr. Dillo is getting his mask on, his gloves, and we're gonna get all set and we're gonna start. One other note, when you come off the stage on the south side right here, please pause for a moment in front of the photographer so you can get a nice photo, okay? All right, class of 2020, we are going to begin. In the wind. So when I call your name, please come up. Joseph G. Aiello. Really? Okay. You're welcome. James Martin Amel. Juanita A. Asapakai. Stacy Ray Beasley III. Go, Juanita. Jenna Ariel Blotcher. Amelia Margaret Boardman. Aiden James Baruso. Ethan Tyler Brown. William Nathan Burstein. Nicholas Robert Canada. Samuel John Capodice. Nicholas Eugene Chu. He is not here today. Alma Maria Clark. Benjamin Curtis Clark. Timothy John Cotter. Alexandra Marguerite Diadabo. Shane William Dawson. Audrey Grace Decker. Jaden Brett DeMoro. John Dorr. Michael Thomas Doyle II. Kyler William Jalak. Magdalene Ruth Eberly. Joseph Peter Fago. Galen Francis Flynn. Troy Thomas Gastila. Nicholas Cameron Hamzavi. Trinity Hudson. Benjamin Patrick Yozo. Owen M. Jakaki. Molly Kissel Jones. Julia Rose Kanan. Isha Kataria. Kush Kataria. Love Kataria. Sophia Jane Kaufman. Murphy Catherine Kearney. Jacob Christopher Knowles. Lily Kai Quivala. Juliana Eve Kulak. Vishal Kumar. Karsten John William Lang. William C. Layden. Emily Patricia Lemkuhl. Isabella Michelle Leichner. Amelia Grace Levine. She is not here today. Jaden Alexander Lovelace. Aiden J. Marchand. Matthew Adakel Maratolo. Jack Brian Marshall. Angelina Teresa Maselli. Remy Olivia McCoy. John Tyler McLaughlin. Anusha A. Memon. Anan Anup Marani. Rohan Kevin Naik. Aiden James O'Laughlin. Jackie Olette. Madeline Childs Pelletier. Wesley McCann Pierce. Alyssa Danielle Pilecki. Ethan Z. Pincus. Maylin Pomp Shine. Jocelyn Riva Samaru Ram. Yusuf Shamoon Rashid. James Fennel Ravelis. He is not here with us today. Jack Francis Risley. Nicholas E. Rodriguez. Jamie Jean Scarpantonio. Spencer Gustav Shaler. He is not in attendance today. Calvin Christopher Schumacher. Ella F. Schwartz. Hannah Elise Shames. Avi Pashori Shastri. Isha Srivastav. Hayden James Smith. William Michael Smith. Isha Sohail. Marwin Samridovich. Ilan James Stadelman Velasquez. Brandon Robert Stake. Christian Merrick Steck. He is not here with us today. Nicholas Stolfi. Sydney Correndo Taff. Nicholas Kirby Traver. Ainsley Carissa Vaughn. Jordan Anthony Johnson Walker. Tianyun Wong. Jean is not with us today. Cecilia Wong. She is not with us today. Jillian Nancy Wells. Catherine Carol Westrick. Jackson Tyler Wolf. Benjamin Zamstein. Class of 2020, congratulations. Big round of applause. Honk those horns. You did it. Congratulations. Wow. I would now like to invite history faculty member, Mr. Rob Keif, to the stage to say the farewell. Give him a round of applause. Honk those horns. Here comes Mr. Rob Keif.
Thank you, Dan. Class of 2020. In times of hardship, we find out who we truly are. During the last 3 months, as our nation has endured the tragedy of deadly disease, economic hardship, and racial injustice, each of you has discovered your own inner courage, your fortitude, and your resilience. Sustained by that core of character, may you all go forth now to not only master the world, but to heal it. Godspeed.
Great job. Okay. Parents, can we get one more round of honks for this awesome class? Way to go, class of 2020! We really are so proud of all of you. Now let me explain to you how we're going to get out of here. All right? What we'd like is when you get up, each student, please take your pitcher with you, or the lawn pitcher, and I'd like everyone to go to the right side of their car. Does that make sense? Thereby enabling that we're not on the same side. So everyone's going to get their lawn sign and put it in the car on the right side. We're going to get in our cars. There is a recessional. The faculty desperately want to bid you farewell, and they are lined up down in Trout Brook parking lot. And so we're asking everyone to recess as you did with the processional, okay? We're going to start in this corner over here, and the gentlemen in red are going to be directing traffic out. I promise you this, it will be a faster recessional than it was a processional. So they've got it worked out. So we'll start from there. But seniors, I'm sorry, graduates, alumni, can you get up, get your lawn chairs, and then get in your vehicles, please. Roy, do you need to move some of those chairs out of the way? You're good?